Okay guys, so I finally saw Bohemian Rhapsody. Better than late than never, I guess. I didn't initially think that I was going to be making a review about this film, and it's not because I'm not a Queen fan, because I definitely am, and I think that's more so the reason why I really want to talk about this, because I feel like if I wasn't a Queen fan, then I wouldn't have as many problems with the film as I do. And I'm sorry the lining is so shit, but I decided to do this at like 9 o'clock at night because all my classes and my work hours, they don't run really on daytime hours, so I can't really do anything else aside from this time. But I did see Bohemian Rhapsody last night, and it took me about a month to see it. I wanted to see it during the premiere, but this month has just been a cluster of shit going on. And I really just want this year to be over. But the point is that I did see it, and now I'm going to be talking about it because I have a lot to say. But before I get into the review, I just want to give a little backstory on myself. I am a Queen fan. I've been a Queen fan since I was a kid. My parents were very much into Queen. I have memories of my dad driving both me and my sister to softball practice and having Queen going on in the back of the car. And there was for like a year, he was really into Queen, and he played it all the time. I don't know what exactly was going on, but I know that he was very into it for about a year or so. And I know that he was a fan when he was younger because he loved Bohemian Rhapsody to the point where, like, he had that, there's those yearbooks that you get when you graduate middle school, and then you have, it's like autograph books, and you had to write your favorite movie, your song, or whatever, and they would dictate it into the book. And his favorite song from way back when was Bohemian Rhapsody. And I think he actually graduated the same year that Bohemian Rhapsody came out. So I think it's like 1977 that Bohemian Rhapsody came out, and that would make sense because he was around 13, 14. So anyway, just to establish that we are Queen fans in this house. I went to a performing art high school, and they had one year, I think it was my sophomore year, they had a Queen tribute concert. It was more so the vocal and the instrumental students, and because of that, I got reintroduced into Queen's music, and I started really, I guess, getting more so into the band. So I started watching interviews with them. I started listening to stuff on their discography that was not on their greatest hits. There were a couple of songs here and there that I did enjoy and that I liked that were not on their greatest hits. And my dad had played a couple of them here and there. Like, I know my all-time favorite song by Queen is Made in Heaven. And I know I heard that song probably when I was like 12 or 13 because of just, I don't know, the timing of when I heard that song for the first time, or I guess really paid attention to it, and what was going on around that time. It's a little too personal, I don't really want to get into it and whatever, but I heard it kind of at like the most appropriate time to hear it at, and I still think it's a really beautiful song. And I heard recently that it's attached to an anime, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, which I'm like, oh my god, because I went to go re-listen to it recently, and it's just, all the comments are filled to the brim of just JoJo references, and I haven't even watched JoJo, I just know that, like, the meme that was going around for a bit, but, like, it's ridiculous. Every single comment was just fucking, referencing from that comic, manga, or whatever, but, anywho's, let me actually get to the review, because this is just going on forever. So, I got my cup of, well, actually there's nothing in here now, so I don't even know why I'm showing this off, but look, it's Victor Nikiforov. Gotta advertise Yuri on Ice somewhere, because this is my second take on this, and I finished all my water, so no tea, just water. So let's start off with the positives of this film. Positives are that this film is gorgeous to look at. Absolutely gorgeous. The amount of effort they put into the set, like the recreations of the venues and like Live Aid, holy shit. Like, I mean, I saw previews of it during the commercials, but like the actual part of the movie where they show that shit, like, phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal how they recreated that. That is, I'm still flabbergasted by how they were able to do that. And from my understanding, I think they actually did like replicate the sizing perfectly so that it was in sync with exactly the, like, the dimensions and everything for Live Aid. And going into that, like, I mean, I'm gonna be talking about Romney and the rest of the cast, but mostly the people that were involved with Queen. Now, Romney, he played Freddie Mercury, and to me personally, I think that he served Freddie justice. I think he really nailed Freddie's character, and you could tell that he gave him the love and respect that there's so much love and respect in that role that you could feel from his performance, and just so much heart, and you could tell that he put his heart and soul into it. And I think that's really, like, it shows, because if there were imperfections, which, yeah, here and there, like, you could totally see some parts slipping in where just it didn't feel, I don't know, like, it felt like acting. It didn't really feel like, you know, something. But I gotta say, like, especially when he was performing on stage, like, the uncanniness of Freddie's personality with what Rami was, like, producing, it's just, like, you couldn't tell, like, what one was real or not. Like, it's that convincing, to me at least. The same thing with the rest of the cast with Queen. Like, I know that everyone talks about the guy who's playing Brian May, because his facial structure and appearance and even voice at times, just like how he acts as Brian, like, it's on the nose. Like, and from what interviews we've seen of Brian and the fact that Brian is still alive, I mean, there's nothing more I can say about that, because I agree with people who are saying that. I think that the resemblance is pretty on the nose. But I have to say, for the rest of the cast, like, the rest of the cast for Queen, I think they did a bang-up job, like, picking the people out that, like, physically represented them, perfectly. Like, the guy who got John Deacon's role, that was the kid from Jurassic Park. I just found out, the tiny, like, kid, like, holy shit, when I found that out. His nose was like, I love big noses, like, don't get me wrong, this is not a harsh critique, like, or a bad critique in any sense, but his nose, like, really did a dip. Like, he had I mean, obviously a kid nose. He was 8 or so, I think, when he did the role, like, but absolutely incredible, like, the uncanniness of the people that they had gotten for this movie. And let me think, are there any other positives? Maybe positives that I'll save towards the end, because now I'm gonna get actually into the negatives, into the critiquing, because, man, I came into this movie thinking that I was going to be completely blown away by it, and while I was very happy with the film, I wasn't disappointed with it, but I also wasn't satisfied with it. And I'm not sure if it has to do with the fact that I am a big fan of Queen, and I know the inaccuracies to a lot of the shit that was in the film. And, of course, there's artistic licensing with everything, and I understand and respect that. The thing is, though, what inaccuracies they had, and what things that they adjusted, what things they toned down, and what things that they highlighted or just replaced altogether, it was very noticeable to me, and I didn't like that at all. And, yeah, I think a lot of what the movie's problem was the writing. And I'm not even gonna say so much the pacing, because the pacing was fine. Like, for a 2.5-hour film, I mean, they got a lot of stuff in, but it's not stuff that really happened. And I can understand that, like, yeah, everything is not going to be, you know, exactly as it was, because if it was, we're gonna have, like, a 20-something year long film. Like, but in a sense, like, I mean, I'm sure that a lot of Queen fans feel the same way, because I've seen a lot of people kind of do this review afterwards, and I'm like, am I crazy? Because that didn't seem like, you know, that's how it was supposed to go. Maybe I'm just not remembering it right, but no, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, so that wasn't how it's supposed to go. Alright, so I'm not crazy. So, that being said, I'm gonna get into spoiler territory. I don't know if I did any spoilers in the beginning, but if I did, I'm gonna put in the title, like, if it was this is a spoiler review. So, you know, if you haven't watched the film, I click away. If you don't care, or you have, just, like, you know, just keep watching. So this isn't so much a critique on the movie as it is maybe a critique on the critics, I don't necessarily, I mean, I was just talking about how I'm going to go into the negatives, but it is going to lead into a negative. So I didn't read the articles, I just read the headlines, but a lot of people were saying that this particular film was like, oh, they were saying that Bohemian Rhapsody is homophobic. And, like, I don't know, like, not that it turned me off, but I'm like, is it really though? And now having watched the film, I think that it's kind of reaching a little bit much. But in a way, I can see where they're reaching from, because there is sort of this negative annotation to homosexuality when it has to do with AIDS. Because unfortunately, the guy that Freddie was involved with, or like whatever that whole thing was, Paul, I'm pretty sure that's what his name was. I'll put a correction, but I'm gonna say Paul from now on. I'm pretty sure it was Paul, but Paul was, I'm not gonna say he was an abuser, but he definitely was a manipulator, person, and his character was, yeah, he came from kind of the same place as Freddie, and I think that's how Freddie initially came into his downfall in the film, and unfortunately, because of the whole homosexuality thing and where he contracted AIDS from, it does, I can understand where people see it as a negative connotation, or whatever it was. The thing is, though, they don't paint homosexuals as bad within the film, in my, like, stance. Like, I don't, because that's what I see a lot of people, like, writing articles about, and I'm like, but you have Jim, which, I mean, again, this is going to be a critique, because I think that they should have put Jim in a little bit more than what they did, and also how he met Jim and that whole thing, like, again, not accurate, but, like, whatever. What was I gonna say? So, Jim and him have, like, Jim cares about Freddie, and, like, their relationship, at least from the start of it, because basically we see the start of a relationship within the film. It's not an actual, like, concrete relationship as of yet. But we see it start to form, and we see that it's healthy, right? So, I mean, you can't say that the movie paints homosexuality as bad, because it's, in the end, that's not how it is. And unfortunately, you're going to have a negative look on homosexuality from this point of view in the film, because that's how it was back then. Not that it makes it right at any means. I think that's what the film was trying to point as, but that's how it was back then, and that's why Freddie didn't announce that he had AIDS, because there was that stigma around AIDS and HIV. So I don't completely understand what people are saying when they talk about the film being homophobic. Like, I purposely did not read those articles because I didn't want to spoil it for myself, but I definitely do want to read it, because I have a feeling that that's where it's coming from. Because as I was watching the film, I was like, okay, I can kind of see where maybe they're getting this from, but at the same time, I don't necessarily agree if they think that it's because, I guess, this guy and how the whole AIDS thing is, like, represented within the film, like, that's a negative. I can't even say that really he was a bad person, but he had his direction thrown off, and I'm talking about Paul, whoever the fuck that character was, but, yeah, I don't know. I gotta definitely read those articles. Maybe I should have read them before I started this video, but, like, whatever. Maybe I'll make a response video if I'm wrong. But I have a feeling that that's where they took it from, and we'll just see. The next thing I want to talk about, and again, this has to do with just the grand scheme of things, is the writing of this film. I didn't have a problem with the pacing, but the writing and the choices of just scenes and whatever, of, like, what they decided to do and add in, some of it was fine. Like, there was, I laughed at a couple of the things, like that whole Galileo scene I laughed at. What else did I laugh at? There was another scene that I kind of chuckled at, but the Galileo scene I laughed at. But for the most part, like, I felt like, in a way, because I knew initially, I probably didn't coin this, but, like, when I got maybe about a half hour or so into the film, I thought, you know what, this is going to be a Queen fanfic. It's not an actual, representation of their story, because it just doesn't seem that way. And I was right. Like, it's a different take on Queen's legacy, and it's not really accurate to what had happened in chronological order. There was a lot of things that were, again, like all over the place, things that didn't actually happen that take place in the film. Like, for example, how Freddie met Jim. Jim was not a butler. I think they met in a bar somewhere. The same thing with Mary. I think he met Mary while he was in Queen, and not even like before the whole Smile thing. And oh my god, yeah, let's talk about how Freddie joined Smile and or what turned into Queen. So that whole thing with like the lead singer quitting and everything else, that didn't happen. Actually, the lead singer recommended Brian and Roger to check out Freddie and stuff, and that's how they kind of formed Queen afterwards. And then I actually want to talk about, because this, I haven't had an oh shit moment in the theater in a long time, and this is probably not going to make any sense to anybody who's not a Queen and or Elton John fan, because I don't know if it's been established whatever on this channel, but I am a massive Elton John fan. Huge Elton John fan. Like, his story, discography, like, everything, like, back of my hand, I know that shit. So, John Reed, because they even talk about it in the film that, like, when he gets a callback, and they're like, oh my god, John Reed called us, he manages Elton John, like, this is a big deal. And hell yeah, it is. But what's crazy about it is they really trashed John Reed in this film. They fired him because they made him seem like this money-grubbing asshole, like, because what was it? Because he made a proposition to Freddie and said, hey, if you do a solo career, you can get this much amount of money, I just want to, like, throw that out there to you. And Freddie got pissed, and he's like, no, you're trying to break up Queen, you're trying to break up my family, get the fuck out of my car, and whatever. And, you know, that's the last time you see John Reed. And I'm like, wow, they made him appear as this kind of asshole. I mean, Freddie also appeared as an asshole in the film, but, like, that's not how shit happened, because what actually happened was that it was a peaceful, like, breakup between John Reed, because Queen wanted to, I forget what exactly they wanted to do, but it wasn't along the same lines as what John Reed was planning or whatever, and they broke it off peacefully. It was a peaceful break-off, not this dramatic bullshit. But what's crazy about this is that John Reed had a relationship with Elton John, and they ended on really bad terms. Like, in actuality, they ended on shit terms. Personally, I can't really choose sides from articles and stuff that I've read, because I think there's fault on both parts. But the fact that they were in a romantic relationship, and the fact that Elton is alive and he is, I guess, taking somewhat liberty to what's going to be happening in Rocket Man, I'm like, oh my god. And that's why I said, oh shit, in the theater, because I said John Reed is going to get his fucking name, like, dragged in the mud for these next couple of years, because when Rocket Man comes out next year, fucking forget it. Like, he's gonna be done. Like, I don't know what John Reed is doing now. I don't think he's doing management. I think he's in, like, Australia somewhere, so I don't know what, but, it's just gonna be funny, because his name back to back in both films are gonna be, it's gonna be fucking screwed, and it's funny and sad to me at the same time, because, again, in Queen's, at least with Queen's situation, I'm like, that's not, I think, how it happened, though, unless, like, I read an article, or article's completely wrong, or whatever, but it's funny. Like, it's not funny, but it's funny. And what's weird about it, along with these other choices and stuff that I've seen from this film, it's like, why did you do that? Why? There could have been, like, this whole other thing that could have been done. Like, I don't know. There's so many, just moments of Queen and so many things that could have been, like, really highlighted on. And just, I don't know, like, just there's a lot of opportunities that could have been done within this film, like, to make the band and Freddie really stand out. I also want to mention, too, that this film is registered as a Queen film, right? But it more so feels like a Freddie Mercury film. And I love Freddie Mercury. Again, just fucking iconic, and absolutely there should be something dedicated to him. But if you advertise it as a Queen film, it's like, but it's all Freddie Mercury, though. Like, towards the end of the movie, that's when it felt like a Queen film, because they broke up the band for a load of time, I forget how much, but like, whatever, some time, and then they got back together to play Live Aid, which, again, is not what happens in real life, because they were touring before Live Aid, but again, that's... I know this the inaccuracies because I'm a fan, but like, fucking whatever. But anywho's, but that's what I'm saying, like, the dynamic, like, I can understand maybe doing that if you're going to continue the rest of the film, like, just, I don't know, with, like, with Queen more, I guess, that Queen, let it be, like, I can't speak, but let Queen be stronger. Queen would have been stronger if you just continue the film a little bit more. I know it's already 2 hours, but, like, save the rest of the bullshit that, like, I'm trying to think even what they could have cut out or just, like, lessened, but maybe, damn, I know, like, when I was watching it, I was like, you know, they ended here, they ended at Live Aid, you know, like, in a way I can understand why, because, I mean, it's just, like, I guess the rest is history in some way, because, I mean, Queen made themselves known really during Live Aid, like, that was their sort of, not redemption era, but, like, you know, they really, like, kicked back, and, like, that's when they became, like, pretty prominent again. But, you know, holy shit. I think that there was, I don't know, there was just something about it where I was like, I really didn't want it to end. I wanted them to continue a bit more, just a tiny bit more, and, you know, really bring the band together, because, I don't know, I wasn't convinced. I didn't have that, like, that wow factor within the film. Like, there was just, it just felt very, like, very off. Even, like I said, the relationship with Jim. I mean, obviously they focused on Mary, because I think even in real life, the whole relationship between Mary and Freddie versus Freddie and Jim was very odd, or strange. Because, I mean, obviously, like, Freddie met Mary first and, you know, said, "You're the love of my life," and everything, wrote that song for her, but he just didn't have, I guess, a sexual attraction to her, because he was more so into men, and that's how he got involved with Jim. But at the same time, when Freddie had passed, he gave most of his estate to Mary as opposed to Jim, which, I mean, that's kind of tricky to me. Like, I don't understand that, but I guess it's not my place to ever understand it. But, like, you know, this is coming from someone that's a fan. Like, you know, I obviously can't relay, you know, a lot of, because I mean, obviously the band members have seen it. Like, Brian posts it all the time on his Instagram, and he enjoys it. So, I mean, again, it's not, is it your place? Because, I mean, it's made for an audience, and absolutely I can have my own say, but at the same time, if the Queen band members are happy about it, where it's like, I don't know, I mean, they're happy that it is a tribute to Freddie in some way, and absolutely it's a tribute to Freddie, like, I don't know what I'm talking about, but the fact that it is a tribute to Freddie, I think that means the most for them, and I mean, it means the most for everybody. I just, in some way, I'm like, you know, but you guys are part of Queen too, like, I mean, you guys, all of you guys are iconic, and I mean, the film they even say, we're all legends, so, like, I mean, it's, you know, so, I mean, absolutely, they gave as much love to Freddie as I think they really could have, and, you know, this whole month, it's been very strange, where I feel like I was mourning Freddie's death a second time, or really, actually, kind of the first time, because, I don't know, I've never been so completely, like, just, I don't know, like, I never really took in the fact of, like, how much of a legacy, how powerful this man, like, really was with his voice. I mean, obviously, like, before this, like, one of the best singers, greatest showman in the world, but, like, for whatever reason this month, I don't know what it was, the movie announcements and everything, and, like, I got into Queen again, like, I had a huge Queen phase this month, obviously. I think it really hit me because I started listening to Made in Heaven, which was the last, like I said, the last album that they had made with Freddie's voice, where Freddie was kind of a part of it, but he wasn't alive when they had released it. But you know, the songs that they had done, like even in Innuendo and stuff, which is another like probably my favorite Queen album. But just listening to that and just thinking like, you know, if this man like if he just held on a little bit longer or whatever, I mean, not only would he have maybe had a chance to like, you know, to live, but there could have just been, I don't know, there's more opportunities to hear him. And I know it's really selfish to say, but like, I mean, you know, just a real fucking loss. Just a real fucking loss. And it really hit me this month, and I don't know why it hadn't hit me before, but like, you know, just seeing Brian in his prime, like, I mean, he still plays the guitar like a fucking madman, and you know, just out of curiosity, like thinking of like what Freddie would have sounded like at this age, and you know what he would have looked like and everything else. It's, I don't know, just questions that like you kind of thought about here and there, but like never really sat down and thought about. And it just, you know, it sucks, man. It sucks. And I don't know why. Again, it hit me this month, but it did. And that's what I mean, where it's like, I'm not mad that it's that it's a Freddie Mercury film. Like, I don't think anybody should be mad, but in some way I'm like, but it's also a Queen film. And that's why I was like, you know, I wish that, you know, they included more of the band together. I mean, of course they had scenes with them together, it just didn't feel like full. If anything, I hate to say it, but a lot of what I felt like this film was empty. And like I said, I don't know, I don't really know necessarily. I have to really sit down and think about it, because this is just an initial reaction video. But just things that they could have, like, I don't know, done better. And like I said, the ending, I can understand why they ended it, absolutely. I like that. I guess it's fine with how they ended it. I kind of wanted more. And I mean, maybe that's the sign of a good movie, and I just like, it's like all the other faults are kind of like bringing this together, and just, I don't know, making my opinion kind of whack. But I just, yeah, I wish they kind of continued a little bit after Live Aid, and even like included like him becoming close with Jim, and him going through the notions and giving like that more, I guess, powerful view on how bad the stigma for AIDS is, and you know, a lot of representation in regards to that respect. Because I feel like if they did that, I mean, those comments that, like, I think it's bullshit anyway with the homophobic comments, but I feel like if they really touched upon that, there wouldn't be as many articles written about that in particular, because if they talk about, like, again, the stigma and awareness and whatever, I think that it would have went over well. But I mean, people are going to have their different opinions, and I guess it doesn't matter, but that's my take on it, at least. He's like, I know we don't want to see it, but like at the same time, it's just, it's, I don't know. I don't know. I have to really sit down and think of things they could have done better, but I definitely do think that there are some things that could have been done. Just, I mean, just example. I definitely got to sit down and think about what scenes maybe they could have replaced. I think I have to watch the movie a second time, because I was taking everything in, and for the first time, I think the second time would make me think about maybe what they could have done, because now I know what's going to happen, and you know, just finding maybe replacements and whatever. Because like I said, Queen, while I know a lot of their history, and I'm gonna say maybe like 60%, 60 to 70% of their discography, definitely not like Elton John, because like I said, Rocket Man, when I do a review for Rocket Man, it's probably gonna be a completely different story because I'm gonna like know shit like that. But for Queen, I feel like I have to sit down and watch the film again because, like I said, the film, like the history, I do sort of know, but I need to really refresh myself on some of the shit, as well as refresh myself with the movie yet again. But I know as I was watching it again, there's so many things where it's like, you know, why did they do that? They could have done this, and I can't remember it off the top of my head now. And I wish I had like a notepad with me. That's probably what I'm gonna be doing when I go to see Rocket Man. I'm probably gonna bring a notepad with me, just for myself, just whatever, because I need to work on my writing and I need to work on all that shit. But anyways, overall, let me give you my star review on Bohemian Rhapsody. I give Bohemian Rhapsody a solid 6.5 stars out of 7. Because like I said, it's a good movie. I'm very glad that it was made, and the amount of care and love that they gave towards Freddie, like just to get his persona. The fact that like there were so many scenes where Rami just, it was very convincing, and the fact that like I think Freddie's family and even the original band members were saying like how uncanny Rami looked as Freddie and how a lot of them got emotional and stuff over it. I mean, that's incredible. And that's like, you can't beat that. And I, just, coming back to that and whatever, I'm gonna start crying. But I just think that that's really nice to hear, and that's something good for them. And like I said, the venues and how they did Live Aid and everything else, I think that was done very well as well. Again, it was the writing aspect that I just didn't care for, and a lot of the inaccuracies and the flips and switches of the timeline, because it's very noticeable, way more noticeable than I would have liked it to be, because I know with any adaptation there's going to be changes, but it was a bit more apparent in this film than I would have liked. And again, it's my personal opinion. I'm not saying that the film is shit. It's because it's definitely not, because you can definitely see a lot of heart in it. But like I said at some point in the video, I wasn't disappointed with the film, but I wasn't satisfied. If anything, I mean, especially what I've gotten out of the film, is that I've discovered my love of Queen again. And again, always loved Queen, and I always look back to their songs and whatever, but it's given me, like, when you get in moods for music, Queen has definitely been a mood for music, and I think with a lot of people. And it's great to see people, like, because I know, well, now my part-time job, but when I was working there, I've heard a couple of kids sing a couple of Queen songs, like Killer Queen, like I know that was on the radio one time, and they were singing along to it. And I think that's great. I think that that's important, especially for the band now as they are now, with them being older and whatever. And I think it's good to see themselves again, because, I mean, when you think about it, what it really happened with Queen, with losing Freddie, I mean, that was a tragedy in of itself. And I'm sure that they felt that loss a lot. Because I know that they were saying something with Brian, like that Brian wasn't doing well after Freddie's death, and, but, and it's a good reminder that, of how impactful that they were, and how there are people that can still relate to them, regardless of how I feel towards the movie, because there were obviously a lot of people that love it, and a lot of people that have, I guess, rediscovered or discovered Queen through it, and I think that's all that matters at this point. So I wish there was like a proper Queen quote that I can think of. I'm thinking of Made in Heaven right now, and I'm gonna start crying, but like the line where Freddie says, well, it's all meant to be. It's all meant to be. And I'm glad I saw the movie, and I'm glad it was made, and I'm glad that Queen again is getting the recognition that they deserve. So with that, I'm gonna wrap up this review. Thank you guys for listening, and I'll talk to you some other time. Bye.